separated from the water. And of course, oil is not the only outcome of the process, because the olive is used to the limits that people also take home and use it for heating in winter. So from the olives, like not one drop of the olive goes to waste. So here's the process from like an olive all the way until it becomes drops of precious olive oil. So many of the art crafts that are made are targeting Christian pilgrims, because the majority of the pilgrims towards Palestine that are allowed to come by the state of Israel, they come from Christian majority countries. This is a large workshop. So before the coronavirus, this factory used to provide for about 27 families, and now it's down to 13. From an economic point of view, the olive tree has nearly 40% of our productive economy is related to the olive tree itself. So it's very, very, very important. It provides jobs for people who are involved in the harvesting, who are involved in the soap making, who are involved in the olive wood crafts, all of which are like ways of contribution to the livelihoods of people. Of course, it doesn't make people billionaires, because like being a billionaire is not part of our culture. Jesus, who was born on this land, said that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to come into the kingdom of heaven. So in our culture, people would get enough to survive, and olive trees have been providing people enough for survival. So I wouldn't say we have people who are multimillionaires because of the olive wood. There are a few exceptions, but once again, this is not the rule. We have olive wood, we have olive oil, we have olive soap, and a huge economy that comes from around this tree. The destruction of one olive tree means the elimination of that livelihood once and for all, So when we're talking about the elimination or destruction of 1 million olive trees, we are talking about the destruction of the livelihoods of hundreds of Palestinian families. The families that are involved in the olive harvest this season are about 120,000, So when you eliminate nearly 1/8 of the olive trees, then you eliminate the income of 1/8 of Palestinian families. And it's not like you destroy it and then they will be able to revive themselves. The growth of an olive tree takes 10 years to continue to start producing the average production. So it's about 10 years. So what the state of Israel destroys now needs hundreds and hundreds of years to be balanced. When the Israelis destroy 1,000 years old tree, and we plant a tree in the planting season, the tree we plant today will replace the Israeli destroyed one in 1,000 years, not immediately. Those of us who are involved in the olive planting are aware of the fact that when we plant olive trees, we are not replacing the Israeli destruction, but we are trying to give a chance that maybe in 1,000 years we will be able to replace that destruction. Also, it provides for the livelihoods of people, and once it's destroyed, that livelihood is affected. So I want you to know that the destruction of the olive trees is not something you lose once in your lifetime. It's a loss you sustain for your entire life. And once again, when they destroy 1,000 years old olive tree, you can't replace that in a year or two. This is why we also call upon people to help with the planting of olive trees in Palestine, not because we want to replace the trees that they destroy today. It's because we want to plant something today, so in the future, hopefully, the destruction will be balanced. So these are important things to mention, I think. So you see the fruit, you can't pick it and eat it. No, it's very bitter. Like for you to eat an olive, you need to pickle it, which is soak it in salt, some sugar and vinegar and lemon for 3 months before it's ready to be eaten. You can eat it if you press it in the olive press, in the olive mill. And then you can eat the oil, and the freshly pressed oil is very, very, very delicious, at least for me. Like, not many people like it, but I love it, you know. But literally, it's a bad idea to actually just pick the fruit and put it in your mouth. It's a very bad idea. Through my work, I've seen like a lot of people who are so excited that they see a lot of olives, and then okay, I will taste one, and that will always be a bad idea. You know, it needs to be processed, and this is kind of like the genius thing in the ancient civilizations. It's like they know that everything needs to be processed before it can be good for human consumption. The olive oil produced from this tree in particular is the most expensive olive oil I know about, and probably the most expensive in Palestine. Palestinian olive oil is already expensive. The leaves are used only for the compost. Like, you know, in a few years it becomes part of the soil. It is the trunk of the same tree, exactly. So this is how frustrating the growth of an olive tree is. The root of the olive tree is the root of a wild olive tree. Wild olive trees never die. So 4,000 plus years ago, this tree was a wild root. You know, the wild roots shoot sprouts like this, you know, and then this sprout is grafted with a productive olive branches. So the first graft of this tree is what you see over here, you know. This is kind of the first graft of the tree. So like the olive tree itself is not like just a root you plant in the land and that's it. No, it's like a process to graft the root, where you have to graft the root with productive branches. So it's a long and frustrating kind of. You have to be like very patient and be able to look into the future. Like when we plant olive trees, we plant them hoping that the hands that will pick them will not know our names, you know? So it's a very selfless thing. Like it's one of the most selfless things I know about the Palestinian culture, where you literally plant trees for the future generations, many of which will not even know what your name is or why you did it. They know that you did it out of generosity, and that's it. You determine the age by the size of the trunk. Like right now, it's not like you have to cut it and see how many circles, because you can't do that. It's like genetic testing. For the olive trees, it's always genetic testing. Like the ancient olive tree that we saw was tested by some people, I think, either from Japan or Korea. And then they were like, yeah, this has been around for more than 4,500 years. But we do not know exactly because many of the trees were planted before our lifetimes. And we are disconnected from the generations that actually planted it. So we have estimations. For a Palestinian to produce a ton of olives, he needs 0 water. For an Israeli to produce a ton of olives, they have to waste about 5,000 cubic meters of water, you know? And when you live in a place where where Palestinians are denied, you know, access to water, it's a huge crime. Yeah, this is like how pruning looks like. So you prune the branches, and then you have somebody like picking the branches. This is the Israeli apartheid wall, yeah, and it separates Palestinians from Palestinians and Palestinians from their land. You know, it was a miracle that this ancient tree was saved. You know.